Hello and welcome to episode number 43 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk all about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
I'm Jim, and today we're talking about the Rule Zero conversation.
Alrighty, hello. How's it going, everybody? Jim, what's up, man? How you doing? Pretty good?
Pretty okay.
Pretty okay?
It's been a day.
You know, it's the weather it's finally feeling good outside.
Yeah.
I was telling Brittany the other day, yesterday actually. We moved the end of last year, and it's been winter all since we've been here, basically, like late fall and then winter. And so now that it's turning into spring, I'm like, it feels really weird because it's like we're going to be experiencing all of the seasons like for the first time this year. So it's just kind of weird and interesting. So it's cool. Like I'm enjoying it. Like I'm enjoying the feeling of being in a new place again almost. That's what it feels like. I'm in a new place all over again, almost a new home all over again. So that's an interesting feeling. But I tell you what, man, I am enjoying this nice weather. I was wearing shorts over the weekend, shorts and a t-shirt. I'm like, it's about stinking time, man.
I can't wait to get back to like 40 degrees.
Do you like the
40
fall?
and 50? Oh yeah, I love it.
I enjoy the fall.
I also love the snow.
I
love
hate
winter.
the snow.
I love winter.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I was literally built for the winter.
Well, yeah, I can tell. Yes, you're like a husky. All right.
Speaking of beards.
Yeah. He was actually saying earlier, he was like, he needs some beard oil.
Yeah.
Get
mustache wax.
Get the mustache wax.
To be able to look like an old Western villain.
Yeah. Actually, my wife's grandpa used to do that. He used to have like the handlebar mustache. It's kind of. I don't think I ever saw him like that. Actually, on a sad note, he passed away 2 years ago today. On this date is when he passed away. So I remember the day very vividly. But that's a whole other story, whole other topic. But yeah, he had like the best handlebar mustache I'd ever seen. When I knew him, I don't think I ever saw it in its full glory, but I've seen pictures, and it's like I'll have to find pictures and show you. They were pretty epic, I know my wife can attest to that. So on that note, we're talking all about the Rule Zero conversation today. We'll kind of get into what spurred this conversation towards the end of the episode. But before we get into it, thanks again, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate everybody. If you haven't, go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any of the podcasting platforms that you're listening on. That would be amazing. And if you're watching the podcast, did you know you can listen to it on all the podcasting platforms? And if you're listening, did you know you can watch it? Because if you're not, then you will totally miss the conversation we just had about beards. You're missing the beards.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm cutting this thing soon. When I get a haircut,
You are?
Yeah. It's getting to that point.
Not that long ago, somebody was looking at our channel and they're like, oh man, the beards. And this is when mine was a lot longer too. Yeah. They're like, nice beards, guys. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, you definitely don't want to miss out on these visuals. I mean, come on, you need more beards, right? So, all right, well, let's just jump into it here. So the Rule Zero conversation, if you've never heard of the term, you probably know what it is. And you've like, if you're in tabletop gaming, you've probably had these conversations before every game night, just about.
I'm also now thinking about it.
Yeah.
You could have never heard of this rule, had someone at the table be a complete opposite player of what everyone else is doing. And you're like, okay, dude, listen. We're all just trying to have fun. You're going to need to bring it down. And that's essentially what this is.
And that was always me before. Like years ago. Maybe not that long ago. Before we started our business, basically, that was me.
Yeah.
That was people telling me, dude, chill.
Yeah.
We're just playing a game. Relax. Now, I'm not saying that's always what happens, but come on. Everybody knows that one person.
Oh, yeah.
That one person. Tyler, close. Sorry. Man.
Yes, definitely.
Woo! Woo!
It's definitely cold in here.
Yeah. No, I'm just messing. I'm just messing around. But anyway, all right. So what is the Rule Zero conversation, right? So essentially the Rule Zero conversation, all it is the ground rules that you and your play group set up prior to the beginning of your session. Okay, your game session. That's basically all it is, right? So by now you're probably like, oh yeah, we do that all the time. Or some people are like, nah, we kind of do, but there's always that, one guy. It's super helpful to do that before every time you sit down and play a game, right?
Yep.
So like I said, if you're part of a group, you most likely have a conversation, if not identical to this, extremely similar to this already. So where does this concept come from, right? So again, like if you've been in tabletop, you're probably already like, I don't know where it comes from. We have the conversation. But when we were, I guess we still are in the Magic community, but that was where I first heard the term Rule Zero. So, and that's kind of why we're talking about it here, because like I've heard the term talked about in Magic, but it 100% applies to all of tabletop gaming. It has, I'll use the word ramifications because I can't really think of another word to use, but it has ramifications in just about all industries, just about like anytime, any group setting, like this concept, this rule, if you will, has its uses, basically, right?
Even business meetings. They're going to be like, guys, this is what we expect from all of our employees, blah, blah, blah.
Correct, for sure. So. Because, if you don't know what's expected of you, you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then if you expect one thing from your coworker and they do something else, like you're in a project, you're a group project, essentially, I think we were all in those groups where like the one person did all the work, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's expected. And if that's what was expected and discussed, great, right? But like if everyone is expected to do this one thing and then 3 out of the 4 people do it and the 4th one doesn't and then everybody fails, well, then that's on that 4th guy who didn't do the thing, right? Yep. So speaking about the Magic community, where I first heard the term, and it's been talked about on these 2 channels, which we'll link in the description and definitely go check them out. But the professor over at Tolarian Community College has quite a few videos on this topic, and then also over at Command Zone. So both of those guys, well, a lot of people, those channels, I should say, are really big in the card game community. And actually the professor has been on the Command Zone talking about this very topic multiple times, I think. And I think he was on one of their podcasts not that recently talking about it. I'd have to double check. But again, we'll link those in the description if you want to go check them out. Because again, it's a good topic to talk about and understand, and really understand why it's a good conversation to have, right? Yeah. So definitely go check them out. Okay, so then we've got, like, what is the actual applicability here? Like, what is the actual application? So, we were talking beforehand, and I think these conversations really are going to pop up more so in TCG, CCG, LCG games, and even D&D also games as well, those tabletop RPGs, right? Like those games which tend to be either competitive, cooperative, and multiplayer, right? With a, like, I'm trying to figure out how you can distinguish between those card games, tabletop role-playing games, and then board games. Like those are 3 very different things, and like subsets of the tabletop community.
3 very different formats.
Yeah.
What is so funny, Dan? We're not going to talk about that today.
No, we're not.
We already talked about it.
Yeah, we did. But I think it's more. I think it would more come up in the card game games and the tabletop RPG games over the board game groups. Let's just say.
Yeah.
Now that's not to say it doesn't come up or should come up in the board game groups, because it definitely should. I just think that conversation looks a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, you were telling me about, like, what does it look like for D&D groups? Because you said you hadn't heard the term Rule Zero before, but you had something else for D&D.
So in D&D, it tends to be called Session Zero, where everyone will come together, pretty much making their characters at the same time. They talk with the DM about what it is that is expected from the campaign as well, how everyone should really be, like, treating each other as well, and just trying to figure out for their group as a whole what is going to be the best route. And if some people are already butting heads right from the start, well, then people can either fix things to go forward, or some people are just left aside.
So moving on from that, like, that's a good kind of explanation of, like, Session Zero. And I think it's interesting where you guys called it Session Zero and, like, we're calling it, like, or it's called the Rule Zero conversation.
So I'm not even sure how long it's been called Session Zero.
Right. It makes sense because like you're doing this all beforehand. You're doing this all before you even start. Right. So we'll dive into this a little bit more. Right. But in talking about the Rule Zero or Session Zero, we think there's, like, 3 questions that you want to ask and have answered in these conversations. Okay. We'll go into each one individually here, but the first one is, why are we here as a group? Like, why are we meeting as a group? Okay. The next is, what am I looking for out of this session? And then finally, what is everyone else looking for out of this session? Okay. So I think that first question informs all of the other ones. Okay. Because you have to answer that why are you here question first, right? That's, like, the question that you have got to answer first. So good example, when I first started going to Grapple to play Magic. Okay. Why was I going to Grapple? Because I finally built a Magic the Gathering deck and I wanted to play with other people playing Magic. That's why I was going, right? So I had to answer that for myself first, okay? That was before I had an actual group, right? An actual play group, right?
I was going to Grapple because I was addicted at that point. When you started going, I was like, I was going there at least 5 times a week.
That was before I was addicted. Yeah. But, like, you kind of have to answer that one first, right? But I still think the why are we here as a group does kind of inform all the other ones, right? So beyond why are you there, okay? If you have your group, okay, why are you meeting? Okay, are you meeting up for a tournament? Like, are you playing Magic? Are you playing Pokemon? Are you playing Yu-Gi-Oh or Flesh and Blood? Are you grouping up to prepare for this weekend's SCG Con in Indy, right? For the next Modern tournament.
That actually happened the last 2 days.
Yeah, I know. Now, was that just Flesh and Blood?
It was Flesh and Blood and Magic.
Oh, they had a Magic one too?
Yeah. And apparently they actually had a featured table for Flesh and Blood, but not Magic.
Really?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
So Star City Games had a feature table for Flesh and Blood. That should tell you something.
Yeah.
That 100% should tell. So if you're involved in the card game community at all, I think that's big. I think that's big news, man.
I had a conversation with Avi today. He stopped by, dropped off my burn deck.
Okay.
And
he finally dropped off the burn deck?
No, well, he picked it up a few days ago.
Oh, for the tournament?
Weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it.
And then,
I thought that was one he was hanging on to for a while.
Oh, no. No, I've had it for a bit now.
Got it.
And then he just picked it up the other day, dropped it off today. And we were talking about it, and it's like the stuff Magic's doing.
It's pushing people away from the game.
It really is.
It really is pushing. It's pushing people either away from competitive Magic or into casual Magic, which basically is Commander.
Yeah.
It's either doing that. It's doing that and pushing them out of competitive play.
Yeah.
And that is not good for the future of competitive Magic.
Yeah.
It's really not. And like,
that's a different story.
It is. It is. It really is. And yeah, let's not get
into that one.
Yeah. So, all right. So, but again, why are you meeting up as a group? Are you like it? Because honestly, if you're grouping up to prepare for a tournament, that session is going to look completely different. That session is going to look so much different than if you're grouping up just to have fun.
Yeah.
Right. Like, are you grouping up just to chill and enjoy each other's company? Those are some, like, that is some of the most fun personally that I have, just grouping up around a table. Yeah. Like, I still remember when you were over, Michael was over, Noah was over, and we were just chilling, hanging out, watching the fight. Yeah. That was the Floyd Mayweather Logan Paul fight. I think that was that fight.
I don't know.
I think it was. We at least hung out then too. Yeah. We at least hung out then too.
Yeah.
Because there were a couple times we hung out.
Yeah, I was gonna say if Noah was there, that was for D&D, and that wasn't the day of the fight because we wouldn't have had time to watch it.
No. I'm not talking about the D&D. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that was because this is without my wife.
Okay.
Because my wife was there, we did D&D, the one shot.
Okay.
But when it was Noah and Michael, we did play a little bit of Magic. Remember that? And then we played we played Dominion too.
Oh, that's right. Yep. That's right. Okay. I was thinking Noah's only here that one time.
No, he came a couple.
It was multiple times.
He came a couple times.
Okay.
He came a couple times. So that was fun. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Right? And why do we hung out? We hung out just to chill.
Yeah.
We literally hung out. Hey, let's just come on over. Let's just have a chill night and have fun. Right? Like, do you want to have fun? Yeah.
It tends to be the same thing for our Commander nights as well. Yeah. And until someone takes it more seriously.
One time.
Dan, that was more than one time.
The last time. It was just the one time.
It's like, it was only the one time this year.
Yeah, the one time. No, usually I'm not. So we play. So it wasn't during Commander. It was when we played Dice Throne.
Yeah, it was during Dice Throne.
It was when we played
But
Dice
it was
Throne.
a build-up from Commander stuff.
No, not really. It really wasn't. The Commander game didn't really have anything to do with it.
Okay.
It was mostly just a Dice Throne. I was just getting frustrated because I felt like what happened was I was losing. And if we decided the rule was going to go this one way, it would have not been very good for me. And I was arguing the rules should go the other way because that was better for me.
But it definitely
was not that way. 100% was not.
Dan hits me up the next day. He's like, okay, I don't know what I was thinking.
Fact check true. Fact check true. Oh, yeah. I really did not know what I was thinking. But in the moment, I honestly thought I was right.
Yeah.
I honestly thought I was right. I took it a little too far, and I just got a little upset. But I got over it.
Yeah.
I got over it.
I'm used to it already, Dan.
But in my I mean, not really defense, but I guess just stating, I used to be more like that. I'm much less like that now when it comes to just playing games in general. So that's good, I should say. But yeah, I wasn't having it that one time.
Dan's gotten a whole lot more used to losing ever since
he's kind of not wrong. Yeah. Because it used to be I'd play with people who didn't know what they were doing, and it was just, all right, I win. No, that's not it at all. But yeah. I mean, I've got red hair. What can I say?
We're just memeing.
Yeah,
We're just memeing.
Yeah. I got red hair. What can I say, right?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So, like another thing, like, is the purpose of your meetup to try and beat like a pesky villain, like Marvel Champions, like Ultron? Like, is that why you're getting together to specifically take down this one villain or boss or something that you've been trying to beat for a while? Yeah. Like, is that the reason you're meeting, right? Because that why is going to influence everything else. Okay. So once you answer that, then why am I here? Right. And again, like you're probably gonna answer that question before you get to the why are we meeting up as a group, right? Because like if we're talking to our commander group, right? Normally it's, hey, you know what? I want to get together with these guys because we haven't hung out in a while. We haven't played Commander. So I've already decided in my head, in my mind, that I wanted to group up with these guys because I haven't hung out with them in a while. I want to enjoy their company and I want to play Commander. So there's my why. Okay. Then we touch base with everybody else in the group. Hey, let's get together just to hang out. And yeah, sure. Sounds good. Okay. Now we've answered everyone else's why. Like, why are we meeting as a group? Okay. Then lastly, like, what is everyone else wanting to get out of the session? So I kind of gloss over it a little bit, but like, what am I looking for out of the session, right? Which again, that answers your why, right? Your why informs what are you looking to get out of the session, okay? And then once you show up, right, it's what, again, if Jim and I are meeting with some other people, what do you want to get out of the session? What does everyone else want to get out of the session? Okay. I want to make sure.
Commander, I just want to counter spells.
He does, which is very true. Yeah. And I hate that, but you know what?
I
know that's what he's going to do. He will just counter because he can.
Because it's funny.
But like, that's actually it's interesting you say that too, because we've been playing Commander for so long now. I 100% know what to expect when I sit down at a table in a Commander. When we went to Gen Con and we played all the Commander, you pull out a deck. All right, I know what he's going to do. He's just going to mess around. He's probably not even going to try and win, depending on what's going on in the game, right? And if I play this card, he's probably just going to try and counter it, right? Even though I really want this spell to resolve, he's probably just going to counter it just to mess with me. He does. All right, I kind of expected it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right, it makes sense. Yep. Like, it really helps. Like, honestly, on an individual level, it really does help. Like, if you're somebody who gets agitated very easily, if you know what to expect, it's a whole lot harder to get agitated when you know what to expect. I mean, maybe I shouldn't say it's harder to get agitated, but it's easier to not.
Yeah.
It's much easier for me to not get bent out of shape when I know what to expect. When I know why you're doing what you're doing, it's a whole lot easier for me to roll with it than not understanding anything why you're doing what you're doing.
Because also think of it as like, oh, I'm going to play all these really awesome cards from my deck, and then I'm going to beat them on like turn 4, and then it's just like, and I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
You're in fact not going to do exactly what it is you think you're going to do, and in fact, you're now going to lose the game. So.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, I didn't get to do what I wanted.
Yep. Or if you're playing with a friend who you sit down at a table and there's one guy mouthing off and he's saying he's got the best deck or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And then your other friend, like him, like this guy, will be like, I don't really like you very much right now because you're not being very nice. So you think you're going to do this thing? Here, I have something for you. Yeah, you're gonna play this guy right here, and then guess what? That thing you're gonna do?
No.
Yeah, no, you're not. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Right.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah. So
unless you play mono green, can't be countered.
Which I like to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then I'm like, I got nothing for that. Be like, bounce it back to your hand.
Or like a funny thing is like if you're going through a game, right, and it's towards the end and somebody's like, can you counter it? Dude, I'm in red. Bro, I'm in red. You think I can counter in red?
You got a
Spoiler
few counter
alert,
spells.
no.
You got a few counter spells, Dan.
There are.
I mean, they specifically target like,
correct.
You know.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But as a general rule,
yeah,
it's a general rule, dude. I'm trying to go face, man. I am not playing counter magic, okay?
Yeah, the best counter spell in red is lightning bolt to the face. To kill them. Like,
right,
hopefully it kills them.
Exactly, right. Oh man. So again, like, what's everyone else looking for? Like, are they looking to play jank? Do they just want to sit down? Hey, I've got this. Again, this is card games, right?
Yeah.
But
you remember Noah's lands deck,
dude. That was hilarious.
What's his name? Enrage Bobogirmos.
Oh, dude, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Borborgamos. Like, I've got the card in my head. Yeah. It's like Borborgamos Enrage or something
along those.
It's like
lines.
7-8 mana.
Yeah, it's 8 mana.
Yeah, it's 8 mana. And discard a land from your hand, and it's bolt.
Yeah, and it deals 3 to face. Yeah,
anything. All right, I think it's anything. Any target.
Yeah, it's anything. Yeah, but we send
which for 8, it better be.
Yeah, and so his entire deck is that one card for the commander, and the rest of the 99 cards.
No, he didn't win. He was close.
No,
Did he win?
Yeah, because he was controlling our boards.
I know he was, because I think I was playing
because you had the card to where it was, if you don't have any cards in hand, draw 3. So he's like,
oh yeah,
okay, I'm going to draw 3 every turn.
Right.
So then, yeah, he ended up winning that game, and it was like, oh my goodness.
Right.
Yeah, that was a completely jank deck that I wasn't expecting to win, and he pulled it out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right. Yeah, I mean, he was just all about that jank. And I at that moment, I'm like, I'm here for it. Let's go. And like that time, we knew what we were doing. We were just hanging out. We just wanted to group up and honestly play some Magic and just have some fun and just chill. Like I didn't have any expectations other than that. Yeah. Right. So regardless of like applicability and you know what, before we actually get into our tips here, I think we should mention like board game groups. That's probably a little different too. Yeah. So for us, like our experience, I mean, as you can tell, like if you listen to us for any length of time, you know we're big into the card games, right? Into the card game community. And we're going to have these other conversations about like the card game community, the board game community. Like we're all tabletop gamers at heart, right? We really are. But I think there's distinct differences between card gaming and board gaming, right? Within tabletop gaming, right? And that's fine. Like that's okay, right? But I think I don't want to say like it's important to talk about because it's not necessarily important, right? But I think it's good to recognize differences and distinctions between preferences, right? And honestly, even ways of thinking and strategy and how you strategize in a game, right? Yeah. So on those two things, like mostly preferences and strategizing, right? There's big differences when it comes to card gaming and and board gaming, right? So, and we'll get into those in future episodes because I've got a lot of topic ideas that I kind of want to talk about and touch on because I view us, right, as yes, we're card gamers, but we don't just want to cater to the card game community and completely forget about board games, right, in the board game community because, again, we love board games. Like, we do. Like, I love board games, right? But I also recognize there's differences. There's differences between the two. And one thing, and the reason I even say all that is because one thing that I'm noticing is, and I don't even want to say there's a lot of, but I know plenty of card game players, like people who play Magic and Pokemon, who they love board games too. Not everyone who loves board games is really into card games and TCGs and CCGs.
Yeah, not at all. Sometimes.
It's sometimes, right? But I feel like what I've noticed is that's kind of few and far between. That's totally fine and that's okay. And I was having a discussion with somebody about this earlier. But it's a question I'm going to continue to ask is why, right? Like I'm always trying to seek to understand someone and why they think the way they think, right? What their preferences, why their preferences are that way, right? So I'm always trying to think.
Have you played Ticket to Ride?
Yes.
Have you played Catan?
Yes.
Would you say they are very similar?
Very similar?
Would you say they're similar?
Yeah,
I mean,
they're similar.
I know they're not like extremely similar, but
they're
pretty
they're
similar.
similar, sure.
I know one guy who was really obsessed with Ticket to Ride, and I asked him if he wanted to play Catan one day. I'm like, I mean, they're honestly pretty close enough.
Yeah, they are.
And he's like, I hate Catan. I'm like, what?
Do they say why?
No, he might have. I don't remember exactly.
Do I know who this was?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
No. He would normally go there on Tuesdays, which was board game night.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was just funny. I was like, how do you hate that? It's like literally the same game. You're building a trail in Catan and you're building a trail in Ticket to Ride.
But see, with Ticket to Ride, like that is the game. Like that's the point is building your railroad and having a long one. Catan, it was just part of, you only got a few victory points for having the longest railroad. That's it. Yeah. That's it. I can't, because there's no dice involved in Ticket to Ride, is there?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Well, even in Catan, you don't have to play with dice. They came out.
It's a randomized mechanic. It's still a randomized mechanic, right?
Well, you do have the deck that tells you what like carts that you get.
Right.
So I mean, that's the random part. of
that is the random part of it. Sure, for sure. That's interesting. I had not heard that before.
Yeah, I was completely in shock. I'm like, wow, okay.
Wow. that'll actually get into our tips a little bit. So, so I did want to touch on the board game community as well here, and again, like I think that conversation is going to be a lot different, right? Because, and again, take what we're saying with a little grain of salt too, because normally when we're grouping up, it's to play the card games normally. Yeah. But I do have actually some good instances of board games of specific groups that I've gone to, right? But I feel like if you're grouping up for a specific board game, again, and I see all these on Facebook too, on all these Facebook groups that I'm in, which is great. Like it's, hey, anybody want to group up? And then there's a thread going and they're all having the conversation. What are we playing? Where are we going? All of that stuff. And that's another, like the internet makes the tabletop community that much better when you see stuff like that. And so that's awesome. Like that's phenomenal. So, all right. So as we touch on that, let's go into our Rule Zero tips. So regardless of your application or your applicability, we've got some tips that I think really would be beneficial and be very helpful for these types of conversations.
This first one is so crucial.
And honestly, I think also these tips also are really going to help you and your individual mindset and kind of just help you set yourself at ease, and then honestly everyone else in the group at ease too. First one is probably the biggest one, and you'll get that from all the conversation we've already had up to this point. That's know your play group. Know your play group. All the things that I said about I know Jim and how he's gonna play. If I see that one deck, know your play group. Obviously, you're playing with strangers for the first time. It's gonna take time. That comes with time, right? Be patient, right? But like, I don't even think you have to tell somebody to be patient too, because most of the time, if it's your group, you enjoy hanging out with these people. I have heard horror stories, and mostly on Facebook, of like people are like, there's this one guy in our group and like saying all these bad things. I'm like, how did he get to be involved in your group? Like how did that?
Like from day one, you probably have seen some red flags coming from the person.
Yeah. And honestly, that's a whole other topic too. Like it could be a video topic, it could be a podcast topic, but like finding your group, finding your play group. I mean, that is a whole other topic that we could spend hour plus just talking about that too. Cause there's definitely, I mean, I know I've got tips, I've got thoughts and ideas, and I know Jim does too.
I mean, specifically for me, I would just be like, if you're going into a new group, aim to have fun. Aim to have fun and meet new people. Yeah,
like your goal should be just have an open mind and learn. I think it's like learning too. Like just be there to learn and try to have fun. So okay, but yeah, know your play group. You know, I talked about Jim and I, like our commander group. Again, when I get together with my family, okay, different application, right? But again, same principle.
Ruthless.
Yeah. But like it's actually good, like for Christmas, right? I'm going into an environment where I know there's gonna be a bunch of people. Dude, I got a bunch of games. I'm going through my collection and saying, all right, I know who's gonna be there. I know they like this game. A game that has gone over extremely well. And honestly, every time I bring it, we always play Secret Hitler. All the time, people will play it. People love that game now, so I always be sure to bring that. If there's a game, like if Michael's there, I know. I mean, he'll play anything for the most part.
You won't play Magic unless you get him a deck.
But that is a 1v1 thing. Like that's like either a 1v1 or okay, if you got multiplayer, I need a completely different deck. That's completely separate, right? But if you're going into a large group, you're more than likely bringing a bunch of different games, right? But again, know your group, know who's there, know the people there, because if you know who's there, you've got a good idea of what they're gonna like, right? Like if I go to a family function and I know they hate this one game, don't bring the game, because nobody's gonna, even though you love it, if nobody else likes it, what's the point if it's just gonna sit in your car because nobody else is gonna want to play it, right?
My game of choice to always have people play is Dungeon Mayhem.
Yes, I knew that was coming. I love that
like
game.
It gets so many people.
That game is so
They
fun.
might not even play card games, but they're going to enjoy the game.
I like how you describe that game too, Commander Light.
Commander Light.
It's a good explanation.
It's spot on.
It is spot on. Yeah, and if you don't play Commander, that's fine, but it really is a straight up Commander light. That game is so much fun. Really annoying. Not annoying in 1v1, but just completely different.
Yeah, it's not really fun to me in 1v1 because it's just like, all right, I have the cards to kill you or he has the cards to kill me. And it's like, all right, now we play them. There's no negotiating with them of like, oh, hey, let's set up something to now take out this one person. And, if you don't do this to me, I won't do that.
It's so interesting what just adding one player will do.
Yeah.
You know, like, you've seen all our Villainous videos, right? Villainous is so different in 1v1 than even just 3-man. It is so different.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can take the same 2 heroes or villains, right? Play them 1v1, then just add another one to that with somebody else, and it's a completely different thing. Queen of Hearts is amazing in 1v1, but you add another player, no, I mean, immediately a B. Good. Immediate B, maybe C tier, right? It's maybe that. But 1v1, amazing. Yeah. So fast.
Yeah. I don't think as of right now, I don't think I like any other hero as much as her in a 1v1.
I want to do Queen of Hearts and Madam Mim.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really interesting matchup. Yeah. I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, that one would be fun to see. Madam Mim, if you get lucky.
Because Madam Mim is you can go fate every other turn. Yeah. You can keep doing that. So that's a possibility.
And you don't even care. Madam Fate doesn't really care if she gets fated itself.
Yep. Yeah. Not really.
I mean, she has like 2 cards that really hurt her, but you know, it's not enough to just be like, oh, all right. Well, I mean, I could also just get 3 vanquish actions in a single turn.
Right. All right. So the first tip was know your play group. The second is come prepared. Kind of like what I was saying earlier about when I get together with the family, right? I know to bring a wide variety of games. Yep. Okay. Again, I think know your group and come prepared do go hand in hand, right? So like bring different games, bring different decks to play. If you're playing a card game, okay, if I'm playing Magic, what kind of Magic am I playing? Yeah. Like, again, if I'm playing Commander, okay, bring a couple different decks. Yeah. I've got my competitive deck.
2 different power levels.
Yeah, exactly. Commander, we talk about power levels, and we talk power level. It's basically how strong is the deck, how competitive is it, right? And you know, we talk rule 0, like that is a rule 0 conversation. Essentially, in Commander is, you know, it's not just the power level. It goes beyond the power level, right? But here's the decks that I have prepared, right? Just in case, like if you're looking for a competitive match, all right, I got it. I got my competitive deck. Here we go. Let's go. If you're looking for, you just built your jank deck, you want to see how it goes. All right, I've got a jank deck here. That's fun.
If you're looking to play a 1v1 competitive game, or not even just competitive, a 1v1 Commander match versus me, I'm not doing it.
No, you won't do it.
I don't play 1v1s in Commander. No, I just can't.
Well, like, do you have any? I mean, you don't really have any decks that would even be good necessarily 1v1.
Talrand.
Yeah, but that's just not fun in a 1v1. That would not be fun in 1v1.
I mean, like, that's probably why I don't do it.
Yeah, well, sure. No, right, exactly. Yeah. Like, Talrand's great in multiplayer. Yeah. Like, it's not fun when you're getting countered by it, but it's like you always need the blue player.
Yeah, it's also really nice when someone else. So if, like, you know, our third player is going off, Dan's like, Jim, please. Jim, stop this madness.
When we went to Gen Con, that happened so many times too.
Yeah, Dan looks over at me, he's like, you got it?
I'm like, you got it? You got it?
Out? I'm like, oh yeah.
So true.
I'm like, I'm waiting.
So true. Oh man. Oh, that's
love him and hate him. You know, hate the mono blue player. You're gonna love him when he saves you.
So true. Oh man, so true. And a lot of those times too, like I was probably playing Coma, so I had quite a bit of counter spells, or I was playing Kenrith, and there's like nothing.
Oh yeah,
I have one counter spell in that entire
like super
deck.
jank.
That is so jank. Those I'm like, please help me, Jim. Please help me.
Oh, I had to. All right. I'm getting sidetracked here, but there was a kid at Grapple, right?
Yeah.
And Noah was helping him looking through his deck, helping him build something.
I think I know where this is going. But
and Noah tells the kid, so it was a Boros list. It was white and red, and it was supposed to like be an aggro list.
Yeah.
And Noah calls it a jank deck. So this kid thinks he's playing the color combination called jank. And it's not.
I hadn't heard that. Oh, that's hilarious.
So there was one time I asked the kid, like, you know, what he was playing. He's like, oh, I'm playing jank. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I see the colors and I'm like, oh, that's the Boros list. He's like, no. The kid had no idea. He's calling his colors jank.
All right. So if you're not familiar, right, in Magic, there's 5 different colors, right?
Yeah.
Wooburg, white, blue, red,
all
black,
of them.
green.
It's
right?
all of them.
Right? All the colors. Okay. So each, when you put those colors together, you've got your different color combinations, right? They each have a name, right? So white plus red is Boros. Okay. So that is hilarious. You thought it was jank.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah, it was a great story.
Oh my word. So speaking of coming prepared, I think the best thing that I can say for coming prepared, right? But come prepared with as much versatility physically and mindfully as you are able. Okay. Like your mindful versatility is very important. And what I mean by that is open-mindedness, right? I know that term open-mindedness gets thrown around so much, right? And guilty, like I'll say that too, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's really true for this, right? Because, and we'll talk about it here in a minute, right? But it's huge. Don't be so closed down to what you are expecting, what you want to get out of the game night, and be shut off from what everyone else is sitting at is there for, right? If I'm sitting down at the table, again, I remember the first time I played Villainous, right? It's me, my wife, Michael, my brother-in-law.
You had like an 8-man game or something.
Yeah. A bunch of her cousins and my sister-in-law, right? I mean, we were there, and I remember we went to Walmart, and we just saw it on the shelf, and we picked it up, and we're like, this is interesting. This should be fun. So we brought it home. We sat down, and honestly, we were just there to have fun, okay? Now, I could have ruined that night very easily. And I mean, you know, I'm competitive, right? And I'm just trying to have fun. Remember, I played Jafar. That's the first time I played the game, and I'm like, these cards look really cool. It was a lot of fun, right? But like, if I'm trying to get those people more involved in the tabletop hobby, in board gaming or card gaming, right? Don't I want that to be a positive experience for them? Or do I want them to be like, and this has happened to me, I'm not going to play games with Dan because he's a jerk, right? I'm not going to play games with so-and-so because he takes it way too seriously or whatever. You have just lost them to tabletop.
Yeah.
Right? Because like for your family members, a lot of the exposure to the space or the hobby space starts with you, right? So even if you don't have that rule zero, like in an environment like that, maybe you don't have that rule zero conversation because in that environment, like I'm just around family, right? Like we're just hanging out as a family, right? Right. In that environment, you tell yourself, okay, this is a perfect time, a perfect opportunity to get more of these people into this game. And then at the end, hey, what'd you guys think? Like, was that fun? Like, did you enjoy it? Like, yeah, that was fun. And you know what? My wife loves Villainous now. Like, she enjoys it. She enjoys the game. Michael loves the game. But like, that was a perfect time. Emily don't like it. Emily she's not about it, right? And that's fine. Like, that is okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it too was she played Ursula. Yep.
Ooh,
you know what I'm talking about.
That one is not basic at all.
Yeah, no. So it very much could have something to do with that.
Yeah.
But you see what I mean. Like I think the point is coming across, right? For a lot of people that their first exposure to the space might start with you, right? So like that's like I hate to say it's a big responsibility, but I mean it is a responsibility, right? So like the pressure is on, right, to make it a good experience for them.
But you also put it on yourself because you're like, I'm bringing these games to play with people.
Sure. Yep. You're doing it to yourself almost.
Yeah, really.
You're not wrong.
So
for
if
sure,
you're
for sure.
then going into it being a complete jerk, it's like, okay, no one's going to want to play these games again.
Yep.
They need to have a good first time, maybe even also second time. And then the third time, you can really lay it on them. Yeah.
Yep. That happens. For sure, that happens. That's funny. All right. So left this for last because I think this is probably this is the point that I kind of want everyone to take away from this. I think it's one of the most important, right? At the end of the day, okay, we're all playing the games that we love with the people we love, right? You know, in my example about family, right? I love everyone at that table. I want them to have fun. I want them to enjoy themselves, right? And I have invited them into this by introducing them to a game that I love. At the time, my first time with that game, but most of the time, hey guys, I love this game. I'm so excited to introduce you to this game. You know how many times I tried to get my wife to play Magic because I really wanted to play it and I had nobody to play it with?
Yeah, I'm sure a few times.
And you know what? To her credit, she sat down and she played with me for a few times because she's like, okay, Dan, I'll do it because I know you enjoy this, so I will sit down and play it with you. Thank you, Brittany.
You're the real MVP.
Yeah. So like that is key, right? That's huge. So keep that in mind, right? And so it's with that, right, that this point comes in as well. So fun is subjective, okay? And it's different for each person. And it may even be different each time you sit down with that same person for a session, okay? What I find fun one day may not be what I'm looking for in the session the next day, okay? But ultimately, what it comes down to is fun or someone's perception of them having a good time is completely different from one person to another, okay? Again, we'll talk about Magic again because we've talked about it quite a bit on the episode, right? Jim loves playing his blue list, right?
And Commander.
Commander. I'm not that's not something that I typically enjoy. Like I wouldn't find I would find that fun because people would be super ticked off when I'm just counting all their stuff. Okay, yeah, never mind. It doesn't.
I'm just like, then I get a 2/2 dragon and I beat you in the face with it every turn until you lose or scoop.
Yep.
Honestly, that's the other win
move to
con,
scoop
right?
phase. Move to scoop phase. Yep. No, but in all honesty, like what someone is looking to get out of a session or what if they're having fun or not sometimes can be completely independent of you. Like it may not even have anything to do with you.
Yeah. It's
just the game that you're playing or for any variety of reasons could be so differently.
Yeah.
And it's not what you find fun. Like that's fine. That's okay. It's totally fine, right? And that alone, and I think personally, I think like saying fun is subjective. Like I think that is a universal truth. Like I don't think that's something that can be argued. I mean, you can argue it. Like you can argue anything, right? But I don't think there's a good argument to say.
Doesn't mean you're right.
Right. Yeah, right. Like I don't think there's a good argument the other way, right? I'm someone who normally doesn't like to make absolute statements normally. But I'm trying to think like I don't think there really is an argument that you can make that says fun is objective. Okay? Because it's again, that's the same thing with art, right?
Yeah.
All of art is subjective. What makes good art? Like you can't say this is amazing art because again, that's all subjective, right? And that and that's okay. That is totally fine, right?
Well, I guess, all right, kind of going off of that, right? If they're using high-level artist techniques, we could kind of say it could be amazing. Because not everyone can do that stuff.
True.
Yeah. But you also don't need to be doing high-level techniques in order to make it amazing.
I guess. I mean, I can agree with that. But I think the point that I was more trying to go off of is beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
That's kind of more what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like, I get what you're saying. And I'm there. I can see that. I can agree with you there. And honestly, using terms like good and bad, that is so broad and so generic.
Third grade?
Yeah. So, all right, I realize that. All right,
Speaking of that, this is a good conversation.
What?
This is a good one.
It is, if I do say so myself. So, but honestly, I think that's important, that I think you just understand that and realize that and honestly accept it, right? And that's why it's so important to have these conversations, is to make sure you're on the same page as the people you're playing the game with, right? If you're sitting down to play a game and you're sitting down with somebody who wants to just mess around and you're down there to be serious and you're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, will you chill? Like, we're trying to take this seriously. Why are you not taking it seriously? My bad. Like, I'm just trying to mess around and have fun. Like, I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
Like, well, dude, this isn't fun. Like, that's why it's important to have that conversation beforehand, right? Because then you'll know, okay, I'm not going to sit down and play with you because I'm here for something completely different than you are.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, that is okay. Totally okay. And if that's the case, either get up, move, go to a different table, or just be prepared to shift what you're going to do. That's why, go back to versatility. Coming to a session or a group, being versatile with what you're bringing, right? And your mind as well. So, like, it all goes together. It really all works together, right? And really, guys, like, it's going to help you. This really is going to help you just have more fun at the table, honestly. Yeah. And honestly, get into more groups, really. Okay, so the last thing I kind of want to touch on here, right, is, so this topic came up in the last podcast where we talked about Marvel Champions, okay? Episode 42, if you haven't checked it out and you want to, kind of what we did is we went through kind of an overview of Marvel Champions and then talked about why we loved it, okay? There was a point in that episode where we talked about net decking. We will have multiple other episodes about the topic of net decking, okay? Because again, as card game players, it's a huge topic. I feel like that topic has died down a little bit in conversation. It used to be like a real hot button topic.
It used to be huge, yeah.
A huge hot button topic. But ever since Hearthstone died down in popularity is when that conversation died down a little bit. Could be wrong, but that's just my recollection.
I mean, it was huge even before Hearthstone was ever a thing. Back when the WoW TCG still existed.
Really?
Yeah, because in Yu-Gi-Oh, like, net decking has been around for a very long time.
Yeah, right.
When did YouTube start to come out? 05? Around that?
A long time ago.
Yeah, and that's like roughly around the same time that Yu-Gi-Oh's first ban list came out. So I would say shortly after that. Like, really? people posting stuff online, copying videos as well. And yeah, net decking in Yu-Gi-Oh has been a hot topic for a long while.
Yeah, so I mean,
15 years.
I haven't done a lot of research into it yet, but I mean, when we talk about it on an episode, I'll definitely dive into it and do more research on it. But yeah, I wasn't really aware or really think about of how, like, where it came from. Was it because of Yu-Gi-Oh that, like, the term net decking came out?
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Okay. I just know that it was a thing.
Okay.
So
when in that episode we touched, we didn't even talk a lot about net decking. We just mentioned it kind of offhand. And I mean, essentially what we said, okay? So, first of all, we talked about it and there may have been a little confusion, okay? There could be, maybe there's not. But so just so we're clear, okay? When it comes to Marvel Champions, and honestly, when it comes to any card game, okay, we recommend net decking. I always recommend net decking.
If it comes to anything with deck building, I recommend you look up a list.
Okay. And that's for multiple reasons, okay? My first reason, honestly, was it can help you to learn the game and learn the mechanics, okay?
Yeah.
Because in all of these games, like, part of the game is building a deck. Okay. So in order to accurately and correctly build a deck, you kind of need to know what the cards do. Okay. So in order to, because that's going to take time and research, really. It really does.
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to skip all of that, you can just find a list anywhere, okay, either on the internet or if you find a starter deck card. In my mind, that's still net decking. It's the same concept. It's
Someone
really
else
the same
built
concept.
the deck for you.
Correct. Someone else builds a deck for you. That is what we classify. That's what I classify net decking.
So
is that
pre-con decks are net decking?
Isn't that the same thing? It's the same. It's the similar concept. It's the same concept.
It's a starter deck. I don't know if starter decks count as net decking.
Okay. Talking about Marvel Champions specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. You can go on a Marvel CDB and find a list. Okay. Or you can use the pre-con starter decks.
Yeah.
Okay. Or it's not even a starter deck. It's just, here's the list that we've built that we recommend that you use.
Yeah.
Okay. So in my mind, I view them in the same manner, in a similar light. Yes, you're not going on the internet and finding a list and then building it off of that.
So you're not going on the internet and decking it?
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Right. So it's, in my mind, I view it similarly, right? It's the same concept.
Yeah.
Okay. You're getting someone else's pre-built list because the deck was built before you, because someone else built it and you put it together.
Yeah.
That's what I classify as net decking. Now, if that's what the industry standard term is, then okay. Like if we want to specify between a pre-constructed list from the box, like Marvel Champions has, and going on the internet and finding it, that's separate. Okay. I just combine the two because it's a similar concept to me of someone else built it and then you can just play it.
Yeah. Ever since I knew about it in Yu-Gi-Oh, it did tend to always talk about like more highly competitive list as well.
Yeah, and that's and again, I can also.
That's also why I'm saying like the beginner like card that tells you what deck to build. I'm like, it's not really net decking. So
I will say I see the difference.
Yeah.
I see and I acknowledge the difference. But for me, my reasoning for recommending one or the other or both, it's still, that's why I keep them grouped, because it's still I'm not building my own list.
Yeah.
I'm using someone else's list for mine, essentially. So I see, acknowledge the differences between a starter pre-constructed list versus finding a list on the internet.
Yeah.
So I see the difference.
Also, what if you don't get the list from the internet? You get it from like a magazine from like 2002 for Yu-Gi-Oh.
And that's gazine decking.
Mag decking.
Mag decking. There we go. I like that one better. Mag decking. That's good. Okay. So our reasons for net decking. Okay. Essentially, the reasons for net decking are help you learn the game, which again, you do that. Probably better off just use the pre-constructed list. Again, still my reasoning for saying net decking, that's why you just group them together.
Yeah.
But again, still acknowledging the differences there. Okay. Learn new different heroes, different aspects, different combinations. Find a list that you see the synergies. You're like, oh, that concept sounds intriguing. Let me try it out. I've got 5 different reasons that I had listed net decking here. First time player, even newer to the game, it helps you learn the mechanics and learn the game. It takes you less time to get from setup to playing the game, since you eliminate deck building step altogether, while still acknowledging you have to actually physically put the deck together. If you're stuck on a specific villain, you can find decks that have successfully beaten that villain. Again, Marvel Champions specific there. To find new combinations of heroes aspects that you may want to try. And then it takes you from noob to veteran a lot faster, as it exposes you to a larger chunk of the card pool at a quicker rate, assuming you're doing multiple heroes and aspects. Again, Marvel Champions specific. Okay. So, again, real quickly, that was kind of what I thought as my reasons for why net decking. Okay. Okay. So I had a conversation with somebody. I won't say who it is. Just, I don't know if they want me to or not. But you can check out the comments for that video just to see. It was a good discussion. I mean, it ultimately is a good discussion that I'm currently having. I actually have to go back and reply. And in whole, like as on the topic. Okay.
Yeah.
So someone had made a comment, right? And the first thing they said was about net decking. I would say you should net deck if you're playing multiplayer, less so if you play solo. Okay. They had said some other things that I kind of agreed with, but I kind of disagreed with that initial point of saying when you should net deck. Now I kind of took it, and I guess I should say I responded to it in a way that kind of said I think it's always correct and acceptable to net deck. Okay. I never think it's inappropriate to net deck. Okay. My whole thing is because you don't know what somebody finds fun, right? Yeah. Like you can just enjoy piloting a deck and just hate deck building.
Yeah.
I know plenty of people who love playing this game. They just don't want to build a deck because it's not fun for them. They don't want to do it. They don't want to spend the time. They just want to sit down. They view it as a puzzle, the puzzle of beating a villain.
Yeah.
Okay. And going through that scenario. Deck building, they have no interest. They have no desire to. Okay. So again, and that's totally fine. Okay. Jim and I, we enjoy deck building. And the person I was having this conversation with, you could tell that's fun. That is the fun part for them. They enjoy not net decking, but building the deck. Okay. And that's great. Like I am there with you. Okay. Like they say part of the fun is making a jank and seeing if it works. I agree. That is fun. Not everybody likes to do that though.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to want to do that. Okay.
Or it could just take you some time to want to mess around with jank cards.
So now let me ask you this, because they had commented back and they kind of said that me recommending or us recommending net decking kind of goes against not knowing what someone's fun is. Okay. Let me try and rephrase. Let me rephrase that. Okay.
Okay.
Recommending, I think what they said was us recommending to someone that they go find that they net deck kind of assumes what they're going to find fun. Okay. So like that assumes that their mind is kind of where we are. Okay. Of what, like we know the game here, you should do this because this is what will be fun for you. Okay. So if that's the argument, I can understand why you would come to that conclusion. I can understand that. Okay. So I view it more as I wouldn't say I'm recommending someone net deck because this is what will be fun for you. I think I at least recommend net decking just because mostly for new players, get you up and started going quicker. Okay. And it helps you learn the game. I personally, it
can be very useful to new players.
And again, also acknowledging I'm classifying using those starter decks, those pre-con decks in that classification of net decking as well. Finding a list that someone else already did and playing it. That's why I'm grouping them together. So, and actually in that conversation, they kind of separated out those pre-constructed lists versus net decking. So
one reason I really like net decking is because people find other things that you just don't think about. You know, especially if you're new to the game, or me and Dan have played it a few times and I could throw together a deck now, but when the last deck I was just playing, the Captain Marvel green list. I'm
Sweet
like,
list.
I'm like, this is really, really cool. I'm like, I love playing this deck. I don't think I would have thought about all of these cards. I mean, if I saw some of them, I would have thrown them in, but I wouldn't have been able to put that entire list together as a whole. And so you get to start thinking about what other people come up with, and you're like, this is genius.
There's a few decks that I've seen on Marvel CDB that I want to play, just to play the deck, because I'm hearing good things about them. But then also it's going to expose me to all these cards, and then I'll see these synergies that, hey, I've never seen that before. Because again, I haven't played with a majority of the card pool. Right. So I want to play through these decks just to play all these different cards. Right. So that's kind of where I think that's where we're at with the net decking thing. But again, I say that just again, I want to drive this home. Okay. Fun is subjective. And what Jim finds fun, I may not find fun. And that's okay. But at the end of the day, I honestly, when I'm playing with Jim, I want to know what he finds fun. Okay. So I can make sure he's having fun.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I want to have fun, but I also want him to have fun.
Yeah.
Like, again, assuming we're playing in the same group, right? If I'm sitting down at the kitchen table with our friends, okay, I want everybody to have fun because I want to do it again.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to introduce you to this game that I love. Okay. Because I want you to have fun. So the best way for you to have fun is for me to try and get you to have fun by knowing you, okay? And again, catering to you, okay? Not, again, I already know I'm going to have fun because I love the game, right? So that is huge. And I think it starts with recognizing that recognition of fun is subjective.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's also very important in that deck if you want to like become competitive in a game, because then you can know the ins and outs of a deck, what can really hurt them if you stop it, and then that pushes you even further. The more you know about the competitive scene in a card game, the better off you will be inside of your competitive career.
Correct. Yep, for sure. So on that note, talking about card games, we're talking about the card of the week.
Card of the week.
Card of the week, guys. Okay. So last week, we our first card of the week. What was the first card of the week, Jim?
Basic Island.
Did you like all those islands that we showed?
Yeah.
We had like 20 different versions. The sweet thing, the cool thing about Magic is like they'll reprint the same cards over and over and over, and then just get different artwork. That's a whole other topic too, like art in games, specifically card games.
Yeah.
Is huge.
They also got to stop making really cool full art basic lands.
Please stop.
Okay? Because every new set...
By that, I mean keep going.
Because every set, I'm like, oh, I want this one.
Yeah.
Oh, I want this one.
Or the secret layers that have...
Oh, man. The full text. I love that.
Yeah, we know it's a cash grab, okay? We know it's a cash grab.
They're just trying to get on the singles market, you know?
Yeah, right. All right, so that was the first card of the week.
Yes.
Jim, what is our second card of the week?
So as soon as you brought up the card of the week, this was honestly the first card I thought about.
Was it really?
This was the first card I thought about.
All right. I want to hear why then.
Nth Metal.
All right.
From DC Deck Builder.
So if you have not, go check out. We've got quite a few videos of DC Deck Building game on the channel. It's a game we're going to get back to. I say this a lot. Like, it's a game we're going to get back to. But it's a game we haven't played in a bit, I don't think. But I want to play it again because it's a fun game. It's an amazing game. The first deck building game that both of us played.
Yep.
So, Jim, tell us a little bit about the card Nth Metal, will you?
All right. I honestly think this is like the most broken card in all of DC Deck Builder. All right. So you play it, you get to blow up a card from your deck. Not from inside the deck.
Okay.
But
yeah.
from your hand or discard.
No.
Only from hand?
No.
Only from discard?
No. That's not it.
What does the Nth Metal say?
Like, I literally just had the card up. I literally just had it. All right, here we go. Okay. So Nth Metal, okay, is an equipment. Okay. Yeah. It costs 3 and says +1 power. Look at the top card of your deck. You may destroy it.
What's the one I'm thinking of?
I don't know what the one you're thinking of is.
Just blow up something from...
This one, the great thing about Nth Metal, okay?
I don't really want to know what card I'm thinking of.
I want to know what card you're thinking about too. It's not Nth Metal, but
look
Nth
at the
Metal,
top and then you could blow it up if you
Yes.
want. Okay.
Yes. So the thing about Nth Metal is the cost. It only costs 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, normally, like if you see an Nth Metal early game, you're picking it up.
Yeah.
Because your deck is full of starter cards.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got the majority of your deck is full of starters. So when you play it, probably going to get a starter.
Yeah, and hopefully you see the vulnerabilities.
If you have, right.
Early game, hopefully you see them, but even if you see the punches, get rid of them.
Right. Yeah, so that's why Nth Metal is so good. Like, Nth Metal shines 100% in the early game. Yeah. So if you're not familiar, what a deck building game basically is, you have your starter cards. Okay,
I'm like, man, it's been a while since we played this.
I got clearly right. Your starter cards, which do the most basic of actions. Okay, in DC Deck Builder, it's your punches and your vulnerabilities. Mm-hmm. Your vulnerabilities do literally nothing. They are cards that just take up space. Yeah. Right. Your punches provide +1 power. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, as you build up your deck and buy cards from the lineup, or gain cards from the lineup, I should say, and then build out your deck, those starter cards don't do a whole lot because you want to get to your good cards. Yeah. Okay. And those basic cards are just in the way.
Yeah. You want to be able to play your good cards as consistently as possible.
So, whatever card you're thinking of is probably better. Like it could be, you could be thinking of like Heat Vision. Yeah. Like Heat Vision is blow something up in, I believe, in hand.
I think I am just confusing.
I think cards. Heat Vision is in hand. But the thing is, I believe Heat Vision costs 6.
Yeah,
I think Heat Vision costs expensive. 6. Okay. Yeah. So you're talking a card that costs only 3. You most likely will be able to buy that turn 1 every time, unless you were unlucky enough to draw 3 vulnerabilities. Because I believe it's 7 and 3.
It shouldn't happen.
I believe it's 7 and 3. I believe it's 7 punches and then 3 vulnerabilities. Mm-hmm. So yeah, statistically, you should be able to get you will like in at least one turn.
Yeah.
Either turn 1 or turn 2, you'll most likely you'll be able to build it.
But that's the thing. Like, so if I ended up only getting the 2 punches, it's like, all right, now Dan's probably going to take the card.
If it's there.
What are the odds he also just has 2
3
vulnerabilities? Yeah.
Right. If it's there. Yeah. Right. So that's why, like, when you're setting up for the game, if you see an nth metal, you're like,
prepare.
That's what we're going for. That is what we're going for. Right. Like that's all we care about.
I was joking with Dan earlier. I'm like, if it was either end the game by taking the supervillain or take nth metal, I'll take nth metal just because. Just out of principle.
Yeah. And I would be there too. Like that would be me as well. I'm trying to find Heat Vision. It's not X-Ray Vision.
No, X-Ray Vision's the defense card, I believe.
No, X-Ray Vision is just a reveal. Each opponent reveals the top card of their deck. Okay. And you can play, I believe it's each opponent. Super. Yeah, each foe. They say it. They call it a foe.
Each opponent.
It's basically each opponent. Correct. No, but yeah, I mean, Nth Metal is just so good just because it costs 3. Yeah. Right. And so, I mean, there was a game. I'll have to find it. I'll try and link it. I'll link it here if I can. But there was a game where I got multiple Heat Visions and I got rid of my entire starting deck. And I think I got rid of it with the Nth Metals. Yeah. I think. Probably. So, I mean, if you can imagine getting 2 Nth Metals early game, you're gonna win. I was like, you're most likely gonna win.
I think there was one game where you ended up getting both destroy cards early game, and I'm just sitting here like, oh man, he's gonna destroy me in the late game. Like I can't find any card that is just like blowing up my deck.
And that's the thing with the core set of DC Deck Builder. There are not a lot of cards that let you blow up or destroy cards in your deck. There's not a ton. They're not a ton. Yeah. They're definitely there, obviously, but there's not a lot as there are in future sets. So like just the mechanic of destroying your starter cards in a deck builder is key. So like in Marvel Legendary, it's KOing your cards. So it's you want to get rid of all your starting basic cards and then you want your better cards. Yep. And honestly, that is the entire concept when you talk about card games, right? And you talk about building your own deck in any constructed format, right? Or even a limited or sealed format. You want to put the good cards in, you want to take the bad cards out. Yeah. So you want to get to your good cards so you can take your bad cards out, right? So that's the concept, right? So that's why we want to talk about Nth Metal. I mean, Jim apparently wanted to talk about a different card.
I want to talk about something else.
He wanted to talk about something else. But I think
but the early game Nth Metal is broken.
Correct. I think you have to. I think you got to talk about Nth Metal first, honestly, just because of the impact, like, yes, again, let's talk about Heat Vision. Yes, a card like Heat Vision has big impact, but I don't think over the course of a game, Heat Vision will have the same impact as a card like Nth Metal would.
Yeah.
If you get, even if you get it mid-game, right? Nth Metal is just going to be a much more impactful card overall in your deck than Heat Vision will be.
Yeah.
Okay. Heat Vision, late game, probably going to take out a weakness or like a vulnerability if they're there.
Which is very good because then you're essentially adding one more VP to the deck.
Correct. Yep. So 100%. So that is card of the week number 2. I'm enjoying this. Like we've got a running list going of cards that
ready for next week.
Cards that we want to talk about. So yeah. So that's the episode. Jim, before we get going here, do you have any final thoughts about anything that we talked about, like Rule Zero or even Metal?
You know, the biggest thing that I've learned from playing these card games, and especially when I worked at Grapple, especially when new people come into the game, I'm like, you guys, in my mind, I'm like, they have to have fun. It's always the number one thing in my mind when I'm introducing someone to a brand new game. Most of the time it's Dungeon Mayhem that I'm introducing them to.
Which honestly, if that's it, you don't gotta worry because they're gonna have a blast.
They tend to always have fun. Even if they want to target me with stuff and like they've played other board games or card games as well, and they're like now getting into this other one, and they can laugh, have a good time, even if they all single target me up, the guy who's teaching them the game, which I get it. It's hilarious if you take out the person teaching you the game. But I want them to have a good experience. I want them to be able to come back and,
the Padawan is now the Jedi.
Yeah, or so they think.
Yeah. But no, like, honestly, that's fun. For me, that's fun too. Like if I've got a few people that I'm learning a game from, and they all gang up and they're having a blast doing it. Like that would have annoyed me before. Not anymore, because like I recognize, hey, I am bringing these people into the fold, and the fact that they are laughing and having a great time, that's awesome.
I want them to beat me,
exactly.
Honestly.
Like that's worth it. Like that is worth the price of admission for me. Like I'm hopefully, so when this airs, I will hopefully be meeting up with a new group to play Ashes. In downtown somewhere. So I'm looking forward to that because we're going to be playing this game. As soon as we finish here, we're going to be playing this game. But like this is going to be an opportunity for me to group up with some people I've never met, honestly, and just have fun over this game that is awesome, and we just all want to get together and have fun with the game. Right. So it's a perfect opportunity to practice what I preach, right? It really is. But again, what am I expecting? What are we doing here? I'm
expecting a phone call from Dan that night. He's like, we got kicked out of that group. We're no longer a part of it. And actually, in all of Chicago, we cannot game anymore.
We are not allowed in that store.
In fact, we might even just go to Indy and set up shop.
We're gonna go over the border. We got to do it. Dude, that's funny. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for being here. That was an enjoyable conversation. I had a lot of fun with that. So Jimbo, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram at Jim Morgan HNH. You
can find me on Instagram at Daniel.G.Campbell and on Twitter at _DG Campbell. And if you go to our website, www.hobbiesandhappiness.com, you will find links to all of our social profiles. Again, that's www.hobbiesandhappiness.com. Again, new website, still a work in progress, but it looks pretty good so far, if I do say so myself. Links to our YouTube, our Twitch, our Twitter, Facebook, everything there. Also, we are trying to hopefully be live streaming Saturday. We're gonna try. We've got stuff we just want to tweak and fix and see how stuff works. So we got to start somewhere.
Yep.
And that somewhere is going to be Saturday. So stay tuned for that. And we'll put more stuff out on YouTube, Facebook, and basically all the social profiles later. So definitely check that out as well. So with all that, Jim, thanks for being here. A lot of fun. And we'll catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.